Here are 7 Ableton Live tips in 7 days. Day 1 is using the built-in crossfader to get a quick comparison between tracks. If you're in your session view, you can go to the bottom right where this little X button is. Go ahead and click this, and this will bring up an A and B on all of your tracks. Find the tracks that you want to compare and mark them as A for the first one and B for the second one. In this case, I'm doing 2 different guitar amps. And now this crossfader right here is going to allow you to slide between A and B. So now when I press play, I can slide between the 2 guitar amp models. So use this whenever you want to blend between 2 tracks or just compare them. Day number 2, some tips with the built-in EQ. A couple of things you may not know about the built-in EQ. If you click this arrow on the top here, it expands the spectrum analyzer into a full screen mode so you can see a little more clearly where your frequencies are. You can switch the mode from stereo to mid-side. This is really handy if you're doing things like mastering. For instance, EQ more low end out of the side channels and leave that more so in the center. Lastly, you can turn on and off the spectrum analyzer in this button on the top right. And what this allows you to do is without seeing these, you can rely more on your ear to make boosts and cuts. Tip number 3 is managing your unused files. If you have a session with a lot of audio files that you're not using, if you go on up to File and then click Manage Files over here, on the right side of the window, it'll open up this file management browser. Inside of this, click Manage Project. It'll scan the files and give you this window. Then if we look down at the unused files portion, it'll show you all the files that aren't being used in the current session. Click Show. This will bring you back over to the left-hand side. And these are now all of your files that you can select all and delete to save some space if you want. Day number 4 is creating a synth from a random audio track. So create a new MIDI track and drop in the Ableton Simpler. Here you can drop in a sample of any type of audio file. So take this audio clip saying watermelon.
Watermelon.
Click the loop button, add some reverb and delay, pitch it up a few octaves, and you have something like this. Here are 7 Ableton Live tips in 7 days. Day number 5 is quickly double tracking guitars from one take. If you have a single guitar track like this, as long as it repeats in the second half, you can cut it right down the middle, select in the middle, hit Command E to chop it, create a new track. Then while holding the Option key, drag the second half under the first half and the first half under the second half. Now we'll pan these 2 tracks hard left and hard right. Now when you press play, you'll have a much wider guitar sound. Tip number 6. If you want to quantize multiple audio tracks at once, say for instance you're editing drums, double click one of the waveforms. This brings up your waveform view. Hold down the Shift key while you have the audio track at the bottom selected and scroll all the way to the top. Now whichever edits you make are going to affect all of the channels you selected. It'll show you over here all of the clips that are being selected and edited. And now you're free to double click, add markers, and move these around on your timeline. Wrapping up the 7 days of Ableton tips, here's day number 7. Here we'll take a look at some advanced features in the compressor plugin. If you click this arrow right here, it brings up this other menu. You can select sidechain and have your compressor triggered by another audio track. Popular technique is to trigger this from your kick and then duck everything else under the compressor to get that pumping sound that you hear in electronic music. You can also turn on an EQ and hone in on a particular frequency that'll trigger the compression rather than the track as a whole. And then if you want a more visual representation of your compression, if you click this button down here to change the viewer, this drops down your threshold. Now you can see when this is being triggered and it'll show you your gain reduction right here in the bottom right.